Now, speaking of the desert, growing air plants here is more of a challenge than where I lived on the coast of California, which of course makes sense because I lived 7 blocks away from the beach. So there was a lot more moisture in the air. Now I'm going to do a separate video about what I'm doing differently with my air plants now that I'm in a much drier climate, but that'll be another video. But what I'm doing today, I imagine, is going to make it easier for me to maintain them. So why don't you head on over to my work table and I'll join you there. Air plants grow in the southern US, they grow in Central America, South America, they grow in Mexico. This is like out in nature I'm talking about. And there are some that grow in the desert, but they don't have any roots. They've adapted that way, but those are not the ones that are sold commercially. So the ones that are sold commercially are grown in greenhouses, so they like a little bit more of a moister climate. So in my head, what I am going to do, and what I'm going to explain and show you what I'm going to do, is going to create a slightly moister, maybe tad bit more humid microclimate around my air plants here in the desert. And what I'm going to be doing is similar to the Japanese art of kokedama, and you may have seen it or maybe not, but it's where small house plants like ferns, orchids, streptocarpus are wrapped in moss balls, and that's how they're grown. There's dirt inside the moss and they usually hang. It's sort of an in thing now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create moss balls, no dirt, around the base of these air plants because I'm thinking that this is going to up the ante on the humidity slightly. We'll see if it works. I don't know. I didn't read about this anywhere. This is just something I did because I grew this big. This very large air plant that I have here, I've had for about 2 years, and I've had it wrapped in moss and it's done fine. By the way, a few of these air plants are from years and years and years ago when I did the Marshall Fields Flower Show. In Chicago, we did, I did the window displays and we did a Curious George theme, and Curious George starts out in the jungle. So there were a lot of air plants and I brought back some of these in my suitcase. Shh, don't tell the airlines. All right, so all my air plants have done fairly well here. They went through their first hot summer. But I just wanted to say that I have lost a few of the ones with finer leaves. This one I'm not even going to bother with. I just saved it so I could show it to you. These that have finer leaves are more adapted to rainier climates, whereas these with the thicker, tougher leaves do better in our homes, and they also do better in a climate like this. Now, we do get rain here. We get rain in the summer and the winter. That's what sets the Sonoran Desert aside from other deserts, but it's still a dry climate. So I got some of the moss in here to soak just so it's a little bit more pliable. And what I'm using is just a preserved Spanish moss here. It's just the gray. I like the ones that are dyed and colored, but they do fade over time. So, and I'm just going to go ahead and wrap the moss around the air plant. I might put one more in here too, just because I'm going to try to conserve the bundles. So I don't have a bunch of bundles. Get that one in there. Wrap it around just like that. And then I'm going to tie it with fishing line just to secure it. You could also use thread to sewing thread if it's just going to be indoors. But my air plants, by the way, grow outdoors here. they've been outside all winter long here. I just make crisscrosses with the fishing line going all the way up and down the bundle here. And I'm pulling it as tight as I can. As I said, it's hard to get a grip on fishing line when your hands are wet. There we go. There is number 2 done. Here's the Cholla Wood. I sawed off the bottom. It was a lot longer. And it's going to hang like that. And I really love Cholla Wood because it has all these natural holes in it. So it's really easy to craft with. If you saw any of my crafting videos in Santa Barbara, you'll know that I collected a lot of driftwood on the beach. But now I live in the desert, so I am now collecting Cholla Wood. I'm gonna lay it out how I see pleasing. This one will probably go up here. I'm gonna do it all the way up and down. And then I'm going to either attach it with this very thick twine. I am going to use this because I sort of like the rustic look of it, and all I'm doing is I'm wiring it on here securely, and I'm going to go up and down and see. I think I'll put the bootsy there because it almost needs something to anchor onto. All right, I'm coming down to the second to last bundle here. And there aren't as many holes in the cholla down at the base here, so I'm just securing it just all the way around the piece of wood. Some of the ends I've left long and I've pigtailed a bit. Some I cut short. The bootsy here I had to use the gold because it didn't have any stem to attach onto, so I just, this gold, you know, this gold wire here I love. It's much more flexible. It's much more flexible and much more thin. And this stuff lasts, well, like crazy too. I just wanted the more natural look of this though. Being here in the desert. Okay. Right, and this I'm going to pigtail a little bit. Just do a little curlicue on each of the ends here. Just for little something something. Almost need these needle nose to work with this, you know, because this wire is so thick. There we go. There. And then this little bundle I'm going to put up at the top. So here is my finished product. And what I imagine this is going to do, I'm just going to water, and it's just going to trickle down. The water will just trickle down on all the air plants, and the spraying will be easier too because they're going to be all in one place. Here I need to water them almost every day in the summer and spray. And what I mean by water, I just sort of let the water drip over them. And it dries so fast here. So I'm just hoping that these little moss bundles are going to stay moister a little bit longer here in those hot summer days. It would actually make a fine coffee table or table piece too, I think. There's a little view of it there. If you were in a very moist climate, you definitely would not need to do this. But in the desert, I'm hoping it's going to work. Okay, I can show it to you this way, hanging on the wall on my patio. And if you want some air plants of your own, be sure to check out our website. You can go to joyousgarden.com. There's a shop tab, and you'll see Tillandsias. It is an air plant grower just south of Santa Barbara that I know personally. And they have great quality, beautiful stuff. The air plants come straight from the greenhouse to you. So if you want to head over there, I'll also leave the link to them down below and in the blog post if you want to create an air plant creation of your own. So I hope you have found this video about my way of displaying air plants in the desert, or just making the maintenance a little bit easier, to be helpful and or interesting. And I have a lot more videos coming your way, so be sure and come back. And let's get out in the garden and make our worlds a more beautiful place, I thank you for all your likes and your subscribes. I really, really appreciate them, and your comments too. And as always, I thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.